Welcome to Small Business Stories. I'm your host, Ronnie Godfrey. On today's episode, we have Angela Fielden, owner of Simply Floors and Lights in Gilmer, Texas. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you do, please like and subscribe to our show so you don't miss any episodes. And now, here is Small Business Stories. All right, so we're up. Got Angela Fielden here with us today with Simply Floors and Lights. Angela, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to visit with you. So we've known each other for quite a while. I think I knew you not too long before y'all started your business, but for a little while. So tell everybody a little bit about who you guys are, what y'all are doing. Tell us a little bit about your business and stuff.
We have Simply Floors and Lights in Gilmer, Texas, and we provide floors, lights, countertops, showers, backsplashes, all the multi-surfaces and your lighting needs in single-family, multifamily situations, affordable living, as well as custom houses.
So it's not simply floors and lights.
It's not. It's more. It's so much more.
That's cool. So how long have you guys been running Simply Floors and Lights now?
We opened February of 2017. So 7 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's you and your husband.
It's me and my husband, everybody, and then we have a team of subcontractors that are amazing that work with us.
That's cool. And so what made you guys decide to get into the flooring and lighting and countertop business?
Well, my husband worked for a large company here locally in Longview, Cassidy Jones Home Plus, and then he went into the Cassidy Jones Surplus stores, and then they deleted the flooring business. And so it was an amazing networking operation, and he had all of his friends and contacts and builders, and he was inspired to go ahead and open his own store. And at the time, I was in a big box retail store, and I was helping him with all of the background stuff because I'm operationally, I have a lot of operations retail background, and I was able to help him do all the paperwork, all the everything. We're 50-50 owners, so then a year into it, it was like, either we needed to hire somebody or I needed to quit my job and help him. And there you go, happily ever after so far.
Yeah. So he worked at Cassidy Jones it was quite a while, wasn't it?
Quite a while, like since early 2000. It might have even been 1999.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, he was there a long time.
17, 18 years. That's a good long while. And can we say where you worked?
Yeah.
You worked at Academy, right?
At Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Yeah.
I was one of the managers that opened the store. So I did lots of things at various times with Academy.
And to clarify, we're in Longview, Texas.
We are in Longview, Texas.
Which is where the Academy store was that you helped to open.
Yes.
And I have to say that because, believe it or not, the podcast has now reached like 20, I know at least 21 states at the last check.
Oh, fantastic.
Canada and Ireland.
Oh, my gosh. You're multi-country
I'm
and
telling you, we're big time. So I always like to kind of help people understand if this is their first episode, geographically kind of where we're located and stuff like that. So how did your experience working at Academy translate into the flooring and lighting business?
Well, it gave me a lot of background. Like I was able to write a business plan. We went through the SBDA with, and UT Tyler offers an amazing program. Chuck Vanderbilt sat down with us, and I was able to write a business plan. I was able to get all of the numbers together because, running a big box store, you have to know those numbers constantly. You have to be able to get them at a moment's notice and pull them all in.
What numbers?
So your sales, your projections, what the national numbers are, what your marketing research is. So with that kind of background, as Chuck was helping us put all of our business plan and graphs and everything together to get a small business development loan, we were able to provide that information to him. I was able to write it, formulate it, put everything in it. So my husband had the experience in the flooring industry, and his numbers were so close to the national average that it was amazing how he could pull that in, just off the top of his head. But then I knew how to write it, how to formulate it, the information that was needed. I knew where to grab it from and fill in the blanks.
That's interesting. So I don't know if we've really gotten into a whole lot of information on this podcast yet about formulating a business plan. So can you talk a little bit about that process, what that was like, what's involved in it? In case anybody out there that's listening is looking to start up a new business and wants to get some help.
Yeah, I highly recommend the UT Tyler program, the Small Business Development Association.
And Derek talked about that on his podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it came up on his as well. And he worked with, I think, Brandy Flanagan was her name.
Yeah.
Here in Longview.
Yes.
And he also said, it was very helpful, very enlightening.
So helpful. And they offer classes where you can take classes. And if you need help with accounting, with, all the different parts that go into building a business, they're able to help you formulate that into an actual plan. For us, Chuck was able to just take the information that we had and fill in the blanks.
Right.
Because we had most of the information he needed. So when we were doing it, it was funny because it was my husband Tim's dream, but then I had the more ability than I knew I had.
Yeah.
To put it all together.
It's kind of interesting, you go to do something completely new like that, and you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Right.
And then you start kind of getting down into it, and it's like, oh, well, all of these experiences that I've had, I'm just kind of, I'm kind of putting all that together, and this is kind of working out.
Absolutely, because I definitely had all the operational.
Yeah. And
that helped so much. So we made a good team, better than we knew we were. Surprise. And I say that, I mean, we've have been together since 1990. So, sometimes a new business can, make or break you.
Yeah.
It'll test your boundaries.
Yeah.
And especially if you're both in the boss situation, where you're both used to being the manager that does everything, and now we're both each other's boss. But I learned so much from him. Like, there were so many things that he knew, all his experiences, and it's amazing because not only did I respect him before this, but now I'm in awe of all the things that he knows. And now, as we've gone on, now I take the classes, and I'm going to, architectural and design classes. And
really?
Yes.
Wow.
So he has always attended, like there's always classes that the different companies do to help you increase your knowledge, your skill level, new products, etc. And then, so I've started attending those classes in lighting first. Now I've added the tile industry, and then I'm also adding architectural design, architectural and tile design.
Okay.
And all.
So your vendors sponsor those classes?
They do.
Wow.
Last month, I went to Hochtown in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They had us at the casino, and, we went to the Schluter classes all day, and saw the materials, how to put it together, all the different things, had a little bit of fun while we were at it.
Yeah.
And so it was really good times.
That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that y'all had those opportunities.
We do.
Now, is that stuff that's open to the public, or is it kind of just for...
It's open to showrooms, installers, people in the industry.
Okay.
And so then I've also joined NTCA, which is the National Tile Association, which gives us a lot of training on several different brands, more just different materials that we carry and use every day in our business.
National Tile Association.
I know, right?
I would have never thought in a million years that there was an association just for tile.
Listen, not even just for tile, but there's also like women in lighting, women in flooring.
Wow.
Like I have such a wonderful community that supports me. You can't even imagine.
That's really cool.
Yes.
Hey, do me a favor and turn your mic a little bit so it's just kind of more straight on. There you go, just like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That'll get a little bit better sound. So going back to the beginning stages of all this, how long did it take you guys to formulate the business plan and kind of lay the groundwork for opening your business?
We started in August of 2016.
Oh, wow.
And started like meeting with Chuck, finding out the different things that we needed to get together, pulling the information together, and then putting it into like an outline for the business plan, the information needed to do the graphs, because there's each part of it. You had to have a company agreement. You had to file for your doing business as. You had to make sure nobody else was doing business as.
Right.
You had to, get with the comptroller's office. And so there were a lot of little boxes that had to be checked to bring everything together, because then when you do take it to the to the Small Business Association, you need everything to be together. You don't want to take something in and lose your credibility.
Right. So if that mic's in your way too, you can raise it up a little bit and get it out of your
It's me. It's my hands.
Okay. You talk with your hands a lot.
I talk with my hands a lot.
So that was like 5 months to do all that work. That's pretty quick. Y'all cracked through it.
We did. And again, we were blessed because we both had so much background, like in, for me especially, it was inventory control. It was a lot of the operational things. For Tim, it was he knew those numbers. And he did market research for the company he was at before. So he looked at different markets, and, that was where their business came from, so he previously had the experience in the field of the research part of the industry he was going into. Right. And then I had the ability to sit down with those numbers and put it into graphs and things where I could predict the future, so to speak.
Makes sense. So what numbers are you talking about? Is it like the volume of flooring sales? Is it the margins on the product and the installation? I mean, what numbers were you guys having to take into account that were, kind of related to that?
So it's looking at the construction business around you, looking at your demographics. So, average cost of living. It's taken into account how the industry is growing in your area. So construction this year for all of us is, like a roller coaster ride up and down. And I'm sure you're experiencing that as well in real estate. Yeah. So it's feast or famine. And
can be like that, yeah.
Yes. And so we've already experienced that because of, the 70s and then 2008 and then, so we know based on those trends that there's certain things that happen in each year. If it's an election year, if there's any kind of unrest, all those different things affect what's going to happen in a construction industry.
Right.
And it's funny because you can predict that.
Right.
And based on that, then you can take into account, okay, so at this point, East Texas is and was and has been growing for a while.
Yeah.
And we could predict that these areas are growing at this percentage per year, which in turn means that we can predict that based on the previous history, it's going to continue to grow this amount, this amount, and this amount.
So when you say these areas, are you talking about like micro markets within East Texas, like
yes,
Longview, Gilmer, Gladewater, whatever?
Yes. And what we had identified was that if you go northwest of 20, there was nothing out that way. You had people going into Longview or people going into Texarkana or people going into Dallas, but there was a little bit of a honey hole right there with no businesses like ours.
Right. So that's how y'all decided to start up in Gilmer.
It is.
Okay.
And based on that, we found a little niche where we started thinking the surplus industry was going to be the way to go. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show you how even the best laid plans change with the market. Mm-hmm. And so we have since then evolved into more of a boutique style shopping.
Yeah.
So I always laugh because I feel like we're a touch of the, walk in, have a cup of coffee, sit down, visit, walk in as a friend, walk in as a customer, walk away as a friend.
Yeah.
Because that's what we developed into. It's actually not the surplus industry that people wanted. It was, I saw this on the internet. Now I want to touch it, feel it, love it, hold it. And I can have displays and have everything measured out. And if you want a $60 lamp like you see in a boutique type store, I've got that. I'm sorry, in a big box store, I've got that all the way up to the custom fixtures, and you can see the size and scale and, see the different tiles. I can bring samples in, and it just gives you more of a small town feel with all the convenience of the larger areas around us.
Yeah, I know a few years ago, before we bought this house that we're in now, we were looking at building a house and kind of laying all the groundwork for that. We came and visited with you guys and had a great experience. We picked out all the, I think we were at the point there of getting like a basic idea of what we wanted and needed. We were just trying to get some numbers together and stuff. But you guys were really helpful in terms of, okay, you got this budget to work with. Here's what we can do. Here's where we can save you a little money. Here's where you want to spend some money. And I found it very helpful and eye-opening. And in a place where, construction, like you're building a house and you've got what seems to be an overwhelming amount of options of things that you can choose from when it comes to flooring and lighting and fixtures and what have you. It made it easier. We kind of, I think, told you guys, this is kind of the style we're looking at and what we kind of want to achieve. And you're like, oh yeah, I got just the thing, and that was great to have that, to have somebody there to kind of hold our hand. 'Cause you go online, you start looking on Amazon and Pinterest, and boy, you can really go down some rabbit holes quick.
Big time rabbit holes quick. And I hope we're able to narrow that down and make the experience enjoyable, because sometimes a lot of people walk in and they're already overwhelmed and they're already feeling like they're spiraling, and the nice thing is we are able to do some hand holding. We are in an area where we can pull it back down into focus and go, okay, well, instead of showing you 90 books, let's go down to these 4 brands because these fit your style. And then this fits your budget. And then now I can create storyboards. Like, technology has come so far, so I can take those ideas that people have and start putting them together. And it's funny because like you said, you go down a honey hole of Pinterest and you're like, oh my gosh, I like everything. But then when you start putting it together on a storyboard, you're like, oh, this doesn't fit. This doesn't match. Yeah. And when you start seeing it with your flooring, your countertops, your your showers in there and you start laying those lights in there, it just changes. It's like, okay, you know what? Now I'm looking at it. This is what I like. This is my style. These are the ones that go together. I like straight lines with a little bit of curve or whatever. And it's really fun because now I even have the ability to delete things off of remodels, add fixtures in. I have so many programs where I can actually give you the image, try it before you buy.
Yeah, kind of visualize it.
Yes,
yeah.
We have visualizers where we can go ahead and lay the floors on there as soon as there's concrete. As soon as a cabinet's on there, I can start putting a backsplash on it. I can go ahead and Photoshop lights in. And it's not Photoshop, but it's
same idea.
I have a program that I can visualize everything in.
Yeah, that's really neat. So you mentioned just a while ago that you guys had initially thought that going into the surplus business was kind of the way to go. And you also talked about, analyzing demographics and, basically the demand for your service. Let's talk first a little bit about where do you find that information that you guys used to do that?
There's so much available online, and there are, like, you can pull up, Northeast Texas and say, what are the average demographics? And it'll start coming up and telling you. We also look up city populations, average rate of growth, average income. And when you take all of those into account, then it starts telling you like your rate of growth, because you can see, Longview, Texas was this size when, in 1999, and then it was this size in 2006, and it was this size, and it will actually tell you like the rate of growth for each individual city or for counties or for, regions.
So you're plugging all this into an Excel sheet and manipulating the data to give you the metadata that you need to make your decisions.
That statistics class that you took in your, first or second year of college, that you were like, please let me make it through this. What did I do to deserve this? Did I run over a puppy to have to take this class? Like, why? That statistics class is actually amazing.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't take statistics.
You didn't?
Well, kind of wish I would have.
I did, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make it, and then I had to go through it again. And it was really good because it helped you evaluate ratios.
Right.
There's one I'll never forget from when I took my psychology classes, and it was statistics, and it said it was talking about not all factors go into the same. Not all factors come together the same way. So it was, it's hot, so we eat more ice cream. People eat more ice cream in the summertime. So and then more crime happens in the summertime, so eating more ice cream makes more crime happen. No, it's hot. Hot makes more ice cream being eaten. Hot makes, more crime happen or whatever. And it was funny because you have to take your variables and put them in the right categories for them to make sense.
So it's like basically trying to teach you how to select the smaller pieces of data that actually are relevant to what you're looking for, and then manipulating that data to get the metadata that you need.
Absolutely.
Metadata being the compilation of little smaller pieces of data.
Absolutely.
Yeah, makes sense. So you guys, I guess, did y'all officially start business as a surplus flooring company, or did you throw that out the window during the planning phase?
We officially started business as a storefront, brick and mortar, and we had a large warehouse. So we thought that we would buy in bulk, store it in the warehouse, and do a lot of cash and carry, a lot of materials. So when we first opened, we got our business name and everything underneath us in December. And then January 1st, we technically started doing business because we already had all of our tax, all of our tax information in place. We were listed with the comptroller and all of that. So we we as we were doing that, we realized we had more people coming in wanting customizable service, like, can you please come do a measure? Do you have installers? Can you install the product that you sell? And we honestly did not think, based on his previous sales, he had a lot of business from this area where people were driving to Longview, picking up the materials from him and carrying them out to these outer regions.
Right.
So in his mind, that made perfect sense. All of your previous experience said you're going to be cash and carry because people were already doing that. Mm-hmm. As soon as we put that storefront in there, people were already coming in and asking us for more customizable service.
What do you think caused that? Was it the showroom that you guys put together, or was it a shift in demographics that happened between, when he started at Cassidy Jones and when you guys opened up your shop?
When we opened up our shop, I think it was that people really wanted that service, and it had not been available before, so they made do with what they had.
Right.
And there wasn't anybody that really came out that far necessarily. I mean, they did, but did you know about it? Because a lot of the people that I found were driving to big box stores. So, or shopping the internet and then going, this isn't what I thought it was. It didn't look like this. Sometimes things aren't always as they appear on the internet.
You don't say. I think we've all had that experience where you order something on Amazon and you think it's going to be like, bigger or smaller, usually bigger than it actually is. Yes. It shows up. It's like this tiny little thing. We call it getting Amazoned.
Yes. and I hate to say it, but that right there has been a huge part of my business, because it's my builder wants this right now. The electrician is there right now. I'm going to have to drive to Longview. What do you have?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
And there's a lot of that in construction, like there last is. Minute. Like
yes.
You get a text on Monday morning, hey, we need this part.
Yeah.
10 minutes ago, you're like, come on. Like, you couldn't have told me about this on Friday and we could plan for it a little bit.
I need a down rod, or, it came in and the electrician said he can't use it because it's not up to code, or, the parts aren't right. Yep. They don't fit, or.
So when you guys made this transition from surplus to boutique, hands-on service kind of model, what were some of the challenges that you guys faced in making that pivot?
The great thing about the position we were in, we were headed to market as this was happening. So
and y'all had just opened too.
And we had just opened.
So you weren't like established and entrenched in this surplus cash and carry model.
Correct.
So it was probably a little easier to course correct and make the shift when you saw the market demanding that kind of service.
Correct. So we went to market, we bought bulk of what his previous builders had requested that we stock. And so it was like, 4 pallets of A, B, C, and D. This tile, this carpet, this, at the time, luxury vinyl plank was really starting to be up and coming. And so we bought these different products that we knew we could do a pretty fast turnaround. And then we were going into the lighting business, and a lot of the lighting companies were wanting us to prove ourselves, because in the flooring industry, we had, almost 20 years of experience. Right. In the lighting industry, we were, hey, we're opening in this really small town in the middle, of 271 and 154, and nobody knows us, and we have no lighting experience, and why don't you just open our accounts for us?
Wow. So to actually get those vendors to do business with you, you had to demonstrate that I guess you could sell the product effectively and
Correct.
all that sort of, wow.
So we started with Hunter and some of the same brands that you find in the big box stores, but not at the same prices.
Yeah.
Our buy-ins were definitely, smaller quantities. So smaller quantities means not
Higher prices. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. And so, we basically had 5 fans, 10 lights.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then it took until 2018. And one of my reps said, "You're doing really well with all the B teams. When are you going to start with the A teams?" And I said, "Look how great I'm doing with the B teams. I'll start with the A teams as soon as you open me." And he said, "You know what? I'm going to have to." And I was like, "Okay, yay, I'm in."
What is A teams?
So
B teams?
He was saying like your brands that you carry in some of the big box stores, they're stuff that you can get anywhere. They're not as custom product as what you have now. So now I carry more brands that are larger scale, that, you cannot, you have to have a show front, a brick and mortar store to get. They sell specifically to showrooms.
So you have access to stuff that you can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get.
Correct.
And that you also probably can't buy online.
Correct. You either have to have an account with them, or you have to have, and just to get an account, you have to, carry minimums and buy-ins, and you have to do certain things at market to get your freight rules, and you just have to. It's a lot of guidelines for you to specifically be able to carry these products.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you go to select products that you're going to carry in your store, what helps guide that decision?
My customers. What they're looking at when they come in. And when I very first opened, I would go, "Oh, I saw this, at market, or they sell a lot of this in these other areas, or, I'm going to try to do something similar to what I saw in Tyler or Longview or whatever." And then I realized my market is not even close. My people are 2 a.m. on Google checking it out, Pinterest checking it out. Well, your computer now tells you, "Hey, everybody in your area is looking at this. People in your area are looking at this. Check out what your friends are looking for." Now that our cell phones and our computers predict what we want to see, it'll tell you what your customers are looking at. It's a little bit scary.
It's kind of terrifying.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
But I started going by what we like, the conversations I have with my customers and what they like. And I realized we have our own sets of style. We have our own way of doing things. We hold our memories in our things. And when the rest of the world is going minimalistic and get rid of all the stuff and don't have anything, it feels like East Texas kind of holds on to those important pieces and then decorates around them.
Yeah, I think we're definitely slower to adopt new things around here and new ideas. I sell houses for a living, and I'm not one of those kinds of people that gets attached to things. Like, I have no problem giving things away, selling stuff. And we regularly, purge our house and get rid of things, but that's not everybody in East Texas. And I'm often amazed and a little intrigued, is maybe the word, by how many people I'll show houses to that are looking to buy something, and they're like, "Oh, well, this house won't work. My couch won't fit." And I'm like, "Oh, is it like a family heirloom kind of?" "Oh, no, it's just a big sectional that we got at Furniture Row." And I'm like, "Why are you? No, like this. You have this backwards, bro. Like, sell the couch. If the house works, like, buy."
Right.
But that I don't know why it is, and I don't know if it's unique to our area or what. But I definitely experience the whole And it's not as often the couch. Sometimes it's we have my grandma's dining room table,
right?
And that's in that instance, it's like, okay, I understand that makes some sense. Like, yeah, okay. But I guess that's more prevalent than I might have thought.
And it's funny because I'll read. I read a lot of stuff like I get on these Facebook pages, homeowner Q&A, and they're like, look at resale value, look at this. And, our people are like, I want to decorate for me. I want to live in my house. Mm-hmm. I want to, feel like I'm at home. I want to, we are definitely not willing to give up our things.
The uniqueness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've kind of seen that too a little bit, in the business of home selling. Everybody that buys a home from me, for the most part, seems to be under the impression that they're going to stay there forever.
Yes.
And I have to remind them, like, statistically speaking, you're going to sell this home within 7 years. Okay,
yes.
Going back to the whole statistics thing. Like, statistically speaking, you're going to sell this home within 7 years, and when you do things and modify things, especially when it comes to dividing up your land and putting another house on it for grandma or whatever, like, you need to think about this. Like, you may want to sell your property at some point, and I always tell them, like, you'd be amazed at how many forever homes I've sold.
Yeah.
It's quite a few. And, whether we like it or not, at some point we're all going to, get sick or die or lose our job or have to move or kids move out or we have more kids or whatever it is. Circumstances change. And, I do think that in some cases people don't give enough consideration to that resale value, and whether it's dividing up a land to put a house out there for grandma or choosing some off the wall flooring fixtures and countertops. I don't know. It's just, and again, I don't know if it's unique to our area or not, but it is an interesting phenomenon for sure.
Definitely an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, you talked about selecting for your personal tastes in your store. Sarah ran a boutique for a little while after she graduated college because she went to school for fashion merchandising and all that. And, she'll always go check out these little small boutiques, and, she can spot it a mile away. She's like, oh, this person's buying for their own personal taste.
Right.
And not buying for what the market wants. And, usually she can predict, oh, that boutique's going to close pretty soon.
Right.
So, which kind of leads me to another question, which is, when you first opened up and you were kind of selecting for Angela's tastes, how did you come to the realization that, maybe not everybody's taste is Angela's taste? And how did you make the pivot from selecting for your own taste to selecting for what your market demands? And what were some of what did that process look like?
So, in the very, very beginning, whenever I would go to market and talk to the reps, they actually would sit us down and go, okay, this is what we sell nationwide. Here is A, B, C, number 1, number 2, number 3, all over the nation. And the very first thing we did was we would go, okay, out of these, I guess this looks good. I guess this looks good. I guess this looks good. And we would hang it, and of course the flooring part of it, we already had buys and sales and, builders that had purchased materials. So we didn't have to worry about it on flooring, showers, and things like that. We had the market research, we had the customer, so we had the sales.
Right.
In the lighting and fan part, we, took the advice of what was happening in Northeast Texas or in the Dallas Metroplex areas and things like that. What we found was that's not what anybody wanted. It was very traditional. It was very traditional, very safe, very mainstream.
You mean the products that the vendors were encouraging you to sell, or the products that people wanted?
The products that the vendors were encouraging us to sell.
Okay, so they were traditional, safe,
mainstream. That wasn't our customer at all. But in my past, I'd done market research and I traveled and I trained people all over the place. I mean, just, traveling for the shoe department is where I started in retail.
Mean like the store?
The store.
Yeah.
So back in 1995, I ran the one in Tyler, and I would travel for them all over, and do all kinds of things. And then when I joined Academy, it was the same thing. I would go to different stores. I would be on merchandising teams, and we were the ones to send in the things saying, hey, in our market, we need more of this. We need more of this, so you had open lines of communications with the buyers where you listened to what the customers were saying. Someone would come in and say, hey, do you have anything that's, a feeder that looks like this but is in this price point, or shoes that are like this and then this price point? And we would get to talk to our buyers one-on-one. We had personal relationships with our buyers, right, where we could shop for that. So having that background as we opened our store, it was the same kind of way that I talk a lot. And then people tend to open up and tell me, like, I'm looking for this, even when they're shy and introverted and, a little scared. Because sometimes when people come in, they're like overwhelmed and scared, and, and it's like, am I going to make a mistake? What's going to happen? And so as people got more and more comfortable, I could hear like, oh, I was looking at this. Oh, okay, well, let's go down that line. Oh, I really liked this. Okay, well, let's go down that line. So instead of following national trends, started following my customers' trends. And
so it was really just like very organic, like boots on the ground, talking to real people in real situations, that you began to realize that what Gilmer and the surrounding areas wanted was not in line with what the nation was doing.
100%. Yeah. Definitely not in line with what was happening. And so I started going like, it's funny because rustic elegance is definitely something that we see a lot of right now. Gilmer had rustic elegance before rustic elegance was cool.
Yeah.
Gilmer had farmhouse before farmhouse was cool. Northeast Texas, like I said, we've always had our own styles.
Yeah.
So we embraced these trends because we were already living these trends.
Yeah.
How many customers do you walk in their house and already see things that they have from their original, grandmother's farmhouse from 1895? Oh
yeah. No, I see lots of that kind of stuff. The quirky tile and interesting light fixtures and old style cabinets, and I mean the plumbing fixtures that look like they're old but they're not. All that sort of stuff. I mean, it's definitely something that we see quite a bit of.
So yesterday, I went to a customer's house to drop off some more line and some sockets to be put on a light fixture. Her husband had taken the dairy barn that was on their land from like the 1800s, or I don't even know how long this dairy barn was there.
Wow.
But he had taken the wood from it and he had built a box, and it's 10 foot long and it's a foot tall, a foot wide, and, so square box like this. And he's going to have 11 light sockets coming down from it. So the buckles coming up off of this that are going to hold it to the ceiling are these massive buckles that came off of a big ammunitions box that was used to cure meat.
Wow.
So you've got the family barn, you've got the family buckles from the salt curing back, and who even remembers doing that? This is what
probably nobody these days.
Yes, so this is something that his dad did because they had beef, a cattle ranch. And so then he has bought this really heavy gauge chain to hang it from his 30-foot ceiling, and this is going to hang down, and then we'll have these light bulbs coming off of it that are very nostalgic bulbs coming off of it. So how many people can say they have a light fixture in their house? So my treasure hunt was to find the wire and sockets coming off the fixture to complete a family heirloom that will now be part of a new construction home.
Yeah, that's actually really neat, and the creativity of that is pretty cool. I'd like to see that when it's finished.
I would love to share it with you. I'm writing the story today. Sometimes my posts take a long time to write, longer than you would think.
Have you heard of ChatGPT?
Yes, but it's not. It's funny. I love ChatGPT. It helps me a lot of times when I'm formulating ideas.
Yeah,
I
use it a lot.
I don't use it to write, but I use it when I'm stuck. But what takes me a minute is gathering the information. This land was, family land. It was a dairy barn. It was, I just want to represent the details right.
Yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent your memories and your thoughts and say I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And so I try to get as many details as possible.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I use ChatGPT a lot in my business, whether it's to get ideas for social media content, or it's to generate a listing description. That's actually the best thing ever, because writing listing descriptions is like the bane of my existence. And when ChatGPT came around, I was like, hallelujah.
Yes.
And but what I'll do on that is I will I'll take what ChatGPT generates, and I'll kind of edit it, and I'll make it, add details that are missing or take away things that shouldn't be there.
Right.
Like ChatGPT loves to put in fair housing violations.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. It'll talk about like, this home is wonderful for a family. It's like, you can't say that.
You can't say that. Well, so the funny thing about ChatGPT is that this last year, my father-in-law was on hospice, and we were going through a lot of tough times where you get a little bit of brain fog.
Yeah.
And you're trying really hard to run your business. You never want to put your personal stuff out there because you don't want anybody to go, oh, they're too busy to help me. And now they don't come to you because we all need to work.
Yeah.
And make a living.
I experienced that.
But at the same time, sometimes you're just like, go, 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 go. So I needed to schedule my posts. I needed life to be normal online.
Right.
And so ChatGPT is amazing because you can go create an Excel file with X, Y, and Z columns, 30 social media posts that say, good morning posts, or, use lighting as a blah, 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 or give me a list of problems people have that I need to create solutions for. And that's where I use it a lot, is problem solving. When you're trying to juggle all the different hats.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons that I went and started learning all the flooring stuff, because I needed to know what the right information was.
Right.
Because again, I don't know if you know this, not all YouTube videos are created equally.
They're not.
And so I didn't want to put false information out there. And I'm attending these classes for Schluter, is one of our brands. And there were things that I learned in going to these classes that, this is a membrane, and if you put a hole here, you just, put a hole in the boat. You're going to sink it.
Like in a shower.
Yeah. And so you needed to make sure that the information you gave was correct. And so I would use ChatGPT to help me formulate, 10 problems I needed to solve. But then I would take that as a guideline to go do my research.
So It's funny you bring that up. Yesterday, my daughter was asking me about Moana 2. She wanted to know when Moana 2 was coming out. And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, let's ask Siri. We queried Siri, and Siri came back and said Moana 2 was released in June of 2023, and I was like, well, wait a minute, like, because I know Riley's going to know, like, it's not, and I was like, well, hold on, baby. I was like, I think something might be wrong there. So we actually went to the website, or a website, and it was like telling us it was going to come out in November of 2024.
Yeah. And
so, when you say, I use ChatGPT to give me inspiration for problems that need solving, and then I go do my own homework, that's good to hear, because what I've learned from firsthand experience is that ChatGPT and these other AI solutions that are out there don't always give the best information when it comes to actual solutions for the problems. They're good at giving you ideas and things to, expand on, or to look at or research or whatever. But when it comes to actually giving you the answers, well, you got to be careful.
You got to be careful. The thing is, like, I'm sure in your industry you get the same kind of question, like, people are scared of technology, scared of moving ahead. But if we don't move ahead, we're not gonna survive. It's either get on board or jump off the train.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no options when it comes to that.
What do you think is the future of the artificial intelligence stuff?
Well, I think it's a great tool, but I don't think we are ever gonna be left to the wayside, because there's something to be said for the unpredictable variables. Like, it wants to predict everything. Well, humans really aren't predictable, are they?
No.
So even as good as it gets, it's still wrong sometimes. Yeah. It's taking all of the information and spitting it out, but it would spit out, it gets hot in the summer, people eat more ice cream causes crime.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't take into account the things that could go wrong.
Yet.
Yeah. And so I'll give you, for instance, I was typing into my Google computer, and it said, and I was doing a list for a customer, and it said, hey, these items are less expensive, right here. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? Wait, what is this doing? It's going to kill me. How can it do this?
It's trying to.
Yeah, it's trying to tell me what's less expensive in my area. Mm-hmm. So it was taking some custom brands that there's nothing comparable. There's these certain brands that are amazing, handcrafted. Like, there's nothing comparable to it. If this is something that you like, this is handmade.
Yeah. No two fixtures are exactly alike.
Right. No two fixtures are exactly alike. And it was taking that, and it was saying that these items are comparable. Well, these items aren't comparable. They're not even close to comparable. But if you look at the internet, they appear to be comparable.
And to the unsuspecting consumer, they...
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where someone coming into a place like mine, I can say, you know what? I get my Amazon deliveries just like everybody else. I order my toilet paper and my paper towel, and they're automatically delivered. I am not a hypocrite.
Yeah.
But let me show you why this is not comparable. Let me show you why these things, don't trust what you see. I mean, I'm a Google doc. Like, literally doctor, I'm a doctor. I have my doctorate in Google. Yeah. I can treat all kinds of diseases.
Oh yeah, I think
we all are. But then
you get like a hangnail, and then you go to Google, hangnail treatments, and all of a sudden you've got cancer. You're like, what?
But then, like you said, when I go to the doctor, apparently my PhD in Google didn't work as well as his did.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, and to your point about the unpredictability factor, one way you can kind of frame that is, I think if you asked a person, do you want to know when and how you're going to die? I think most people would say no.
Correct.
Or do you want to know, exactly what your life is going to look like in 15 years? I think if you really consider the question, the answer more than likely would be, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think, technologies need to organize and predict versus the human need to have spontaneity and unpredictability kind of are in conflict with each other. And I think you have a really good point, and one that I hadn't considered until now, about why the AI stuff may not be a total replacement for all human interactions forever and ever. Amen.
Right.
I think that there is a lot of value in that, in the face-to-face conversation, in the, touching and feeling the product that you're about to buy, and getting someone's expert opinion about what, the advantages are of this $400 light fixture over the $150 light fixture, even though, the $150 one's cheaper, but why is it better to get the $400, whatever it might be. There's something to be said for that. And I know, for me personally as a consumer, I appreciate being able to go and consult with somebody that knows more about the subject than I do and ask their opinion. And, I've always subscribed to the theory of buy once, cry once kind of thing versus, oh man, I wish I would have, spent the extra $50 and got this, this better who's it or doodad or whatever it might be. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's a good insight.
And, it'll never be able to predict the things that I think if you punch in a lot of information. When I was 20 years old in college, had my whole career planned out, because I'm a planner and things are going to happen.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, it didn't at all. My degree was going to be early childhood intervention. I was going to be working in mental health and mental retardation. I was on a path to...
which I think you would have been great at.
I really was emotionally involved in this. I absolutely loved this career path. And I was in my senior year of school when my husband got hurt on the job. And it was devastating. 3 back surgeries and a neck surgery later. I went into training still, and I took what I learned in mental health and mental retardation because I worked for Sabine Valley, and we helped people that were in public housing that had freshly come from state schools learn jobs, and life skills and all the things. And now I took that and went into retail and started, helping other people learn, train, and.
So how did that translate into retail?
Well, the funny thing is, what my job was at the time was helping people learn skills and how to state those goals. So it was like, what do I need to work at Brookshire's?
Right.
I need a driver's license, or an ID. Of some sort. I need to be able to fill out an application. Here's what's required to get a job. An ID, a social security card, the different information. And then I would go with you to Brookshire's, to Albertsons, to whatever job site it was, and stay on the job with people for 6 weeks. So I might work in a nursing home for 6 weeks with a person.
Wow.
I might be at Brookshire's with another like different people learn different job skills.
You're taking these people with disabilities,
Correct.
Who, maybe are, not totally incapable of working, but who probably aren't going to do really like high level things, but they can go sack groceries at the
Correct.
store or, help cook at McDonald's or whatever. And so you were going with them into these workplaces. and basically doing the hands-on training right alongside them.
Yes. So every 6 weeks, I would learn a new job and teach a new job and then leave. And the funny thing is, I have worked with people that ended up with careers for 20 years, 30 years. There are a lot of local businesses in Longview that supported the program.
Yeah.
And for the business, you get tax credits. Mm-hmm. So think about it. As a business owner, you got 2 for 1.
Yeah.
You got the trainer, you got the person, you got the training, the one-on-one training that as a business owner is very difficult to provide.
Yeah.
As well as tax credits. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around.
Training new employees is very hard.
So from there, when my husband hurt his back, I got a job offer. I was working part-time, Christmas, holidays, or whatever for a little extra. And they offered me a job instantly and said, you know what? You'd be took me from here to here. You'd be great at training our staff. I mean, anybody that can go into a different business every 6 weeks, learn and train, and set up a training program for the rest of your staff.
Isn't it funny how God just puts these different things in our lives?
He does.
And lines it all up.
Yes.
Like doing 7 years in education was a huge help for me when I actually got into the real estate business, because I knew how to take, difficult concepts and break them down into a way that's easy for anybody to understand. And I also learned how to handle interpersonal conflicts, both with parents and students, how to problem solve, how to do a lot with a little. And when I got into the real estate business, I've always thought that I was called to be an educator. And what I didn't realize was that education is everywhere.
Correct.
It's not just in the public schools. It's in business. It's in really every job. And when you think about it and you really boil it down, every job is education and every job is sales.
Yeah.
Even parenting is sales and education. Selling, flooring and lighting fixtures is sales and education. Selling real estate or, insurance or cars or even stuff like, hiring a person to come frame your house. That person has a certain amount of sales and education that they need to do in order to best help their client or customer make good decisions and get what they need. But God lined all that stuff up and it's the weirdest thing. And that was true for you as well, because you had all this experience training these people how to do these different jobs. And then the shoe department, I guess.
Mm-hmm. The shoe department, I went straight in.
Was that a connection that you made through the program you were working with? Or?
No, it was randomly. I just wanted to make extra Christmas money. And I think I was shopping maybe. It was 1995. So it was a long time ago. I don't really remember exactly. I know that I went in and I was talking to the manager and I just wanted, extra money for back to school, Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it was just a temporary position. It wasn't even going to be anything. It was like just a minute, a blip. And it was amazing because you're right. Like, God has a plan. Mm-hmm. And it turned into me running a store, going into new stores, being there to train the staff, merchandise the store, hire all the managers, the employees, mm-hmm. train them how to train their own staff, and basically creating their own domino effect. I train you, you train them, they train the next person, and together you build your own team, mm-hmm. and your team has respect for you. And taking all of that, and then Academy came in and offered me a position when they opened the store in Longview. And same thing, we merchandise stores, we had peer training programs. I got to teach, people all over, and eventually that worked into more and more people, because when I started, it was 69 stores. When I ended, it was probably 250.
Wow.
And, and I'm like, when I started, it was, just what can we do with these managers, because the store was behind opening. And when it ended, it was, hey, can you create a slideshow and do this, and here's your team. And we're talking to, 250 stores doing whole presentations.
Yeah.
In a peer training program where we're training people to, do their own large big box stores.
Yeah.
And it was, and then now, what that translates into is I went into where I was able to volunteer for junior achievement. I was able to, do a lot of job training programs, do things in the community that we just have a fabulous community in Longview.
Yeah.
I mean, it is absolutely amazing. And then when I did move out, to the outer limits, I was able to take that here too, and all of that background into my community, where now I, did lunch and learns, have started doing lunch and learns for the chamber. I've started, it was all the things I did for Academy, now I do for my community.
Yeah.
Basically.
So,
and I educate my customers, because sometimes it's DIY, and it's like, hey, when you watch these videos, stick to this. Like, if you're doing a shower, go to the Schluter videos, go to these specific videos. Here's the great YouTube videos. Here's a list of videos that will help you do this correctly.
Right. When you made the decision to leave Academy, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was heartbreaking. I cried.
You poured a lot into that.
I poured a lot into that. And my relationships, with the computer, would ChatGPT predict that I would take this degree that I was working so hard for and go into retail, and then go into Academy, and then go into opening my own store. I don't think it ever could. But and it definitely could not predict the emotion, because if I was a computer, I would predict that I would, literally you would probably find me have a heart attack in the receiving area or something. I just never thought I would leave. I loved the people that I met, the friendships that I made. I'm still, and I still run across people every day. Like, I'll go to a doctor and they'll be like, hey, I worked for you when I was 16. Or I'll go into a business and they'll be like, hey, I worked for you, and, back when you first opened. We opened 3 days after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what kind of relationships we all formed in that training, doing our new hire orientation? We were sitting there, and it was like 3 days after 9/11, we had our grand opening. We didn't know what was going to happen or anything.
I bet you sold a lot of guns.
We did, and we sold a lot of shoes. So now, fast forward, we opened our store in Gilmer, Texas, and I was like, okay, I have to calm down. I have to really, really calm down. Not, I'm kind of passionate, pretty high strung. Frequently, I feel like a ping pong ball bouncing off the walls. The energy.
You know yourself very well.
Thank you. And so I really thought, gosh, are they going to be able to handle this? Like, what is going to happen here? And the very first thing that happened is a builder walked in, and he said hi, and he's talking to my husband, and I said something. He said, oh my God, Angela. And he comes over and hugs me. And my husband's like, how do you know my wife? And he said, hey, you and I have worked together for a long time, but she sold me all my guns.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the next person that walked in was like, oh my goodness, I hadn't seen you in so long. And my husband's going, well, how do you know her? And they said, oh, our team went to the playoffs, and she helped us with all of our uniforms and all of our baseball equipment. And then the next person that came in. So it was like all these relationships that I was so terrified of losing, they're here. Like, I see people every day still in my life.
Yeah.
From then.
I get that experience too. Like, whenever I go out in the community. And that was a thing that I was kind of afraid of leaving education, is that I would lose touch with, my students and my colleagues and everything like that. And what's actually happened is that I'm selling houses for a lot of them now. Actually just closed a house for one of my former students, and I've got another former student that we just got a contract on his very first house.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's really cool.
It is.
Seeing these little knucklehead kids that you were teaching in junior high, and you're trying to keep them in line and help them learn how to do the right thing and everything. And then they grow up and they're doing the right things, and you're like, man, that feels so good to know that I was a part of helping that kid grow up, and also that, hey, they turned out pretty good.
Yes. It's so funny how things come full circle. I was listening to one of your original podcasts, and it was Slade.
Yeah.
And he was talking about that when he had opened and everything. And I realized as I was listening to it, I don't know if anybody remembers Yeti when it came on the market.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Big deal. And it was always sold out. And then you'd get more, and then you'd sell out. Well, then there were no colors available back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were all silver.
They were all silver, yes. So I had bought this car, and I absolutely loved my car, but I hated the wheels.
Yep.
So I went over to WPC and had my wheels powder coated. And it was Sloan had just had this color put on his wheels.
Yep.
And I loved it. It was like this graphite, and it had like these sparkles in it. I don't even know how to explain it. You'll have to ask him about these wheels, because I'm sure he remembers, because it was like this custom mix he had done.
Yeah, he'll probably remember it.
And and so I was so excited about my wheels, and I was always telling everybody about them. Well, listening to your podcast, I realized he was probably at the sign store when I drove up, and probably had to run across the street to help me.
Yeah.
Because it was back then. And then these Yeti cups, back to that, I was like, oh my gosh, they did my wheels. I wonder if they'll powder coat this cup for me. And so I did it as a gift first, and everybody loved it. And next thing you know, I'm sending people left and right from Academy over there, and I'd have them done as gifts. I'd have them done all these different ways. Don't you know, he was probably like, well, I guess if I can't do anything else, I'll powder coat these cups. He was probably like, oh my gosh, what have I done with my life? This is what I'm doing, powder coating
Yetis. That's what I'm going to do forever. Yeah. No, they for those who haven't listened to that episode, they've gone way further than powder coating Yetis.
Way further.
They've taken that business to a whole different direction. But yeah, that was really interesting. Like I think you mentioned you might have been one of their very first customers, and they didn't even have enough money to really staff that location when they opened it. And today they employ 50 different people, and they've got all these families that are depending on their business, and
they're my goal. I'm still younger. Our business has been open 7 years, but in the middle of that, we had pandemic. We had all these different hills and valleys
setbacks.
Yes, that have been an amazing roller coaster ride. And the good thing is, based on our previous backgrounds, we're conservative, and we try to roll, gain the speed when you're going downhill to help you push uphill,
Yeah.
So we rest when we have a downtime, and we get ready with our bootstraps on to hit the hills. And having said that, when I was listening to that podcast, I was thinking goals, as he's saying that he's, was watching across the street and running back and forth. I felt that. I was like, that's, kind of where we started. I mean, we had a base.
You had 1 foot in Academy and 1 foot in Simply Floors and Lights. For how long?
I left Academy at the end of 2018. So I was basically working 2 full-time jobs.
For 2 years?
For 2 years, yeah.
Wow.
Until we had built our business up enough to quit. And then when I did quit, it was like literally jumping off the high dive with no life jacket. Yeah. Just here we go.
How did you overcome that fear?
Like doing a Tough Mudder, you climb 25 feet and you go, what's the worst that can happen? I'm either going to land in the pool gracefully or I'm going to land in the pool doing a, belly flop. Either way, I'm going to land in the pool.
Yeah.
So just go for it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've lived my whole life was, you're either going to fall and get back up, or you're going to make a great landing. Either way, you got to keep going, right?
Yeah.
And
you got to. I think there's points in life where you come to the edge of some cliff.
Yeah.
And you can either take the leap and trust that it's all going to work out, or you can turn back and go back the way you came.
Yes.
Or sometimes you might get pushed off that cliff and you've got to figure it out on the way down. But I think for a lot of people, those people that take the leap and that trust that it's going to work out, it really pays off.
It really does. And I'm not going to lie, at the very beginning, I am such a planner. I'm such a predictor. I want everything to be exactly like I wrote it. I have a vision board. I did an outline.
You're frequently disappointed, aren't you?
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? But then I have my husband, who is such a different personality. He would be like, everything's going to be okay. And I can remember going, if you say that one more time, this may not work out well for you.
That pretty well describes Sarah and me. I am very much it is what it is. Let's let it ride. It's going to work out. And she's, the anxious one, if you want to say that. She gets worked up over stuff. I'm just like, it's going to work out.
And it's funny because he's right. I mean, it does. I mean, and don't get me wrong, every small business owner knows the angst of, ecstatic one day or complete panic the next.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you must have really great back coffers to fall back on.
I don't think I've met a single business owner that has said, "Oh yeah, every day is great and there's no problems and everything goes exactly the way it should." I've not met one single one. So.
No, so he has taught me to not completely panic and not completely go off the deep, like we're always staying in the middle. It's like when you have it, you stash it. When you don't have it, thank goodness you stashed. Like always have a safety net, and just don't panic. Just keep praying, and it will work out. And I've also learned to take those downtimes for self-care. Yeah, take a deep breath. For me, it's clean up my inventory, clean up your stock, clean up your displays, go through and get rid of stuff that you don't need. Like you said, I'm a constant clean out. Yep. I want to always clean things out. Yep. And make sure that everything is as it should be. Yeah. And so I use those times to prepare for when it's going to get busy again. And then when we do get busy, I have social media to post. I have I have a whole lot of prep work to help me no matter what place we're in life. That
makes sense. I want to take a pause for just a second for a little bathroom break, but then we'll come back and we'll kind of finish up. I got a few more things I want to go over with you.
Perfect.
All right. And we're back. So I think we were talking a little bit about kind of, worrying about the future and stuff like that. And which kind of leads me to this question of what is the long-term plan for your business? Where do you see your business going?
Hopefully growth, as as we all do. And the great thing about East Texas is that there are so many people moving here from metroplex areas around us, but also from the West Coast, from Tennessee, it's amazing how many people want to be here right now in East Texas. And some of the customers that have found me more recently are because of internet, because it, we were talking about how the computer predicts and things like that. And so they're finding me because I'm right there, close to Mount Pleasant, close to Mount Vernon, close to all these different places. So in my mind, all the people moving here and the extreme growth East Texas is experiencing, we're going to continue to grow, build, create more jobs for those around us, create more opportunities for people coming up. In my own personal goals, I see myself starting to teach trade classes and building up not only my own business, but the people coming into my business as well. So I'm actively getting involved in career days and things in my community that help develop our future career professionals, I guess is a good way to say it. And so we have a great chamber director, and she is from the education field. She's a retired teacher, and you may know her. And she has really done some amazing things in the community, as well as our chamber has done some amazing groundwork to help do these things. And what I see as I'm talking to some of the career professionals is that we have a lot of college students, and which means we have a lot of chiefs and not enough Indians, I guess is a good way to say it. We don't have the people doing the work as much as we used to.
You mean with regard to like trades?
Yes.
Like plumbers, electricians, tile guys, things like that.
And so many people are noticing it that like Texas just passed legislation to help with flooring installation. And the great thing about that is that some of the careers in the past, you had to be a certain age, to be in these programs because of the tools that were required, etc. With flooring, you can be in it younger because of the different, because it's not as much of the OSHA requirement. You don't have tools that are, you're doing hand tools instead of the big mechanical tools.
So you mean like they're going to trade school, or like they can be employed as a flooring installer at a younger age? Or? Like
they can get credited at a younger age, they can get training at a younger age, and they can
What's the age?
Create a career path at a younger age. In a perfect world, they're starting to do things up north that are coming to Texas, where they're starting as freshmen, learning in shop classes. Whereas some of the welding and things like that, I think you have to be a junior or senior, correct?
I don't know. I remember taking a welding class when I was in high school, and I want to say I was junior or senior, but I don't know if that was a requirement. I mean, I think we had sophomores and freshmen in there too. I don't know. I couldn't swear to that. It's been, like you said, almost 20 years ago at this point. But that's great. I think, my generation, especially I'm a millennial, and college was pushed on us really hard. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that I went to college, and it provided me with a lot of good experiences. It taught me a lot about how to think, how to problem solve, and how to, build relationships and a lot of valuable things that, aren't necessarily like in the classroom type of stuff. But, our generation was sold on that really heavily. And when I was in education as a teacher, I always told my students, like, I don't necessarily think that college is for everybody.
I agree.
And I don't think that everybody needs to go to college. We still need people that can do, skilled labor, like, installing tile, installing flooring, carpentry, all these different different trades that require specialized knowledge and skills. And, I also think there's a certain amount of, a little bit of a loss of the DIY spirit in America to some degree. I grew up as, when I was growing up, we did everything ourselves. We would change our own oil. We'd do our brake jobs. We would, carpentry projects, electrical, plumbing. My dad was a really handy guy and taught me a lot of different stuff about doing that kind of work. And I still do a lot of that kind of stuff myself, mainly because I enjoy it. On the other hand, I offload some of that because I just don't have the time. But I do think that there's a lot of value in teaching high school kids how to work with their hands, whether they grow up and actually do that or not. I think there's value in learning those skills.
And my background taught me that education isn't the same for everybody. So
education is not something that happens in a classroom.
Yes,
that's schooling.
Yes.
Education is an ongoing thing that occurs for your entire life, and it encompasses so many different things.
So many.
This conversation is education.
Yes.
Listening to the podcast when it's published, that's education. Talking to somebody who is from a complete different background and experience than you are, that's education.
Yes.
It's not necessarily what happens in a classroom.
And one of the things, because I was going into the early childhood intervention part of it, I realized that I graduated top 10% of my class. I can regurgitate a whole bunch of information.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean I can apply everything I can give you back. Whereas working with children with ADHD, for instance, in a setting where they can take a ruler out, where they can see how to measure it, where they can follow this lady on Facebook, and her son has ADD, and she's taking him to job sites with her. He's learning hands-on his fractions, his multiplications, his everything, and it's so amazing how different people learn with storyboards or with all these different things. And so the funny part about that is people that learn that way can do figures in their head. They can do math in their head. They can do, they don't have to have a piece of paper. They can visualize a project. They can see it coming together, all the different parts of the job. And so, but they may not have been able to graduate high school because, they needed earphones or they needed, and that's where the early childhood intervention came in. It was helping people find resources for those special needs.
And how many people can you think of that maybe you graduated high school with, or that who didn't graduate high school, who nonetheless are super successful?
Oh, my brother. I mean, and it's funny because we were just talking about this at Career Day. My brother dropped out in his sophomore year of high school. He's brilliant. He's so smart. He taught himself computers. He taught himself all kinds of things. He went back, got accreditations, did all kinds of stuff, and then started creating corporate websites for Verizon, and now provides IT for companies like Land O'Lakes. And, he provides the IT, he's a contract IT departments.
Yeah.
And it's, how much smarter is he than me? I mean, he is amazing at all the things he does. I'm forever impressed by him.
Yeah, but he'd probably say the same about you. You throw him in the Simply Floors and Lights showroom and ask him to help a customer outfit their new home with tile and light fixtures. He's probably going to look at you like a deer in the headlights.
Probably.
But, it kind of drives home the point that, we're all gifted with different skills and different abilities, and we all develop different skills and abilities over time. And we need all different kinds of people in the world. We need the IT guys. We need the people who know all the different types of flooring you can put in your house. And it takes all of us to keep everything going.
Absolutely. 100%.
So going back to something you commented on earlier, you had made mention of putting back resources for when times are a little bit slow and things like that. And that's come up on a couple of our other podcasts that we've done. The first question would be, is there a certain rule that you guys have for what you keep in reserves? Is it a certain percentage of your revenue? Is it a certain percentage of your monthly income? Or do you just we just have a number that we like to see as a minimum in our accounts, and after that, we're happy?
In a perfect world, I would love to say that there's, minimums and there's things like that, but it doesn't always work out like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more of building a bread and butter, where you can rely on these things every month. So having my builder that's going to do 4 spec homes a month, and having those people that you can rely on, and not just one. I mean, you have to have multiples.
Right.
That's helpful for my line of business. And then yes, we definitely would love to have, we want to keep minimums in our bank account. We want to keep reserve pushed back for when we can make sure that, these things get done every month. But then also, we have goals that we have to meet. We need to make sure that we have this many houses scheduled for this month. And if we have this many scheduled, then that's going to keep us in line to keep these things in line. Everything has a domino effect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so it's not always just a basic line, because that basic line won't stay long if you don't have those income constants.
Right.
And that's it. It's mainly having those constants.
Yeah. And, I've always been the kind of person, I hate, it's a flaw of mine. I hate seeing large amounts of cash sitting in my bank account, because all I can think of is that money is losing money. But the longer I've gone on being self-employed, the more I value that, because, when you get to a time of business that's a little bit slow and those cash reserves aren't there, you're like, boy, I sure wish I had that money sitting there losing money.
Absolutely. And
another one of my guests, I won't say who he was or what he does, but he told me one time the amount of cash reserves that they keep for their business, and my jaw was on the floor. I was like, man, gosh, y'all keep that much cash sitting around? He's like, yeah, you have to. We've got payroll, we've got notes that have to be paid, we've got utilities that got to get paid, and we've got a plan for the worst case scenario. And he's like, yeah, could that cash be better deployed, into some kind of investment or something? Yeah, but we've got to have it where we can get to it.
And that's it. You've got to have it where you can get to it,
and I think,
at a moment's notice.
I think as a business owner, it's hard to wrap your head around that, because if you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, you see that money sitting there and you're like, man, I want to invest that in something. I want to go, buy a rent house or put it in the stock market or whatever. And you have to have the discipline to be like, not doing that.
And for you, I've watched you for a long time, because ultimately, I've known your family since you were in high school, so I've seen you do some really great things. And the Airbnb and the rental properties that I've watched y'all grow and, provide extra income, that's your reserve. Because, if you think about it, that's a little bit like me and my, having my constants. They're constants I can rely on.
Well, in the real estate business, and I think this is true for a lot of businesses, you've got to have what I like to call pillars of business. And if you think about a structure, no structure is going to stand very well on one pillar.
Right.
It takes at least 3 sturdy pillars to support a structure. And I think that's true with a business too. So when it comes to real estate, we've got the rental income but those don't throw off a ton of cash. We don't have the Airbnbs anymore because it was just too much of a headache for the season of life that we're in with young kids and other businesses that are, got going on. And so the rental houses don't really throw off much cash at all. We don't live on that money. We just kind of leave it sitting there and use it to pay property taxes and insurance, repair bills, things like that. But what I have been able to do over the years is to establish a few good pillars of business in my real estate, which, investors are a really good pillar of business. Those are people that are, constantly buying and selling properties, because they do it as an investment. There's the purchasing online leads through sources like Zillow, Realtor.com. That's a good pillar of business. It costs money, but generally we get a pretty good return on investment from that. And then I have a referral source that I work with a lot, which is Veterans United, and they send us quite a bit of business. And then we also have our sphere of influence and referrals, which we, for me personally today makes up over 50% of my business, which is kind of, what you want to build up to. Bless you. But when I first started out, it was pretty much one pillar of business, and early on that was Zillow leads. Like I just, spent a couple $100 a month on Zillow leads because none of my friends and family, a lot of them didn't even know that I was doing real estate. And those that did know I was doing real estate knew that I was part-timing it. And they all, they knew I was brand new at it. And they're like, I love you, Ronnie, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing business with you. Okay. Whatever. But it grew beyond that. And I think if you're going to survive long-term in any business, you've got to have, you've got to find what those 3 or 4 pillars are for your business and invest in them. Even if it costs you a little bit of money to acquire those, those pillars of business, you've got to make that investment, and you've got to have something relatively steady that's going to support your business through the good times and the bad. And, is there going to be times where, you maybe lose money on a particular month? Yeah, that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where those cash reserves kind of come into play, and, planning ahead a little bit for when those times
absolutely
get lean.
And you mentioned buying the list. When we first opened, that was one thing we did. We bought a list, an info list that gave you a list of electricians, builders, contractors, et cetera, because we knew we didn't want to go after the market we were already in. We had already had businesses in. We knew that market was saturated. We wanted to go after a brand new market that was all open opportunity. So we bought a list of contractors, builders, and everything in this northwest area of untapped resources. And it worked, because not only did we already have our first pillar, which was our builders that, now followed my husband, because they, the where they were at was dissolved, so it was no longer there. But then we also started sending out postcards and emails to new people that previously had been driving, 45 minutes to an hour and a half to go visit places similar to ours. So we started developing relationships with people that had no relationship with anybody up until this point. And referrals, it's amazing how many people, like I said, have moved here from other communities. And it's been customers. I've got one right now. I'm from Tennessee. We started with their house. Now her brother-in-law is moving here from Tennessee. She's brought him. Then she brought me out to the job site and introduced me to her builder. And this builder in particular, again, no relationship with anybody. And he's like, oh my gosh, in the past, my customers have gone to the Metroplex areas or into neighboring communities. And this is amazing that there's someone 20 minutes down the road from us that does the hands-on, boutique style shopping. And that was what he loved, because it's really difficult when someone goes to Dallas and picks up a whole carload of lights and brings them back, and then one's broke. or you've got to exchange something, and he's an hour and 15 minutes even from Longview.
Yeah.
So it's an all-day trip to exchange products.
Yeah.
And takes it off, and takes a lot of time. And how valuable is his time? Mm-hmm. So we developed a whole new resource for the people in this area that had nothing before.
Right.
And so we had there's your three pillars: our referrals, our stables, and then our, your hopefully reserves.
Yeah. And the referral side of things is really where the success and the money are, because word of mouth, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason.
So true.
Is really the best advertising that you can possibly get, and you can't buy it. You have to work for it. You've got to do good work, and you've got to go out of your way to give personalized service, to make people happy, to make them feel valued and important, and although it's not going to be the case that they're your only customer, they need to feel like they're your only customer. And it's hard to do, and it takes a lot of time. But if you can survive long enough to get to the point where people are giving your name to their friends and their family and everything like that, it's, number one, really gratifying, but number two, it's a surefire way to make sure that your business survives over the long term.
Absolutely. And, I have a customer that's in San Diego right now that COVID taught us how to work with people no matter where they're at, no matter what time of day, no matter what the situation is. So we can text, we can email, we can meet in person. When you're here, we can, there's so many things that we can do to connect and to be together. And because of the relationship we developed from June 29th to today, she has brought her builder into my store, and now he has brought in plans, and we've sat down for, several large projects coming up. And I couldn't buy that. I couldn't pay that. It was literally him seeing how we treated his customer.
Yeah.
And wanting that experience for someone else, because I truly believe it is about customer experience. It's not customer service. It's customer experience. It's how did you walk away feeling? It's the feeling you get when you look at the things that we've done in your home. Yeah.
That's an interesting distinction there, customer service versus customer experience. Talk a little bit about what in your mind is the difference between those two things.
Customer service are the expected, thank you, you're welcome, coming in, being greeted, all the things that we expect. And there's exceptional customer service in so many places we go into. Customer experience is creating an environment where it's educational, it's informative, it's reaching out to people on a whole nother level. And
it's fun.
It's It's passion.
It's gotta be fun.
It's all the things. I said sometimes things I do are a treasure hunt. Mm-hmm. Literally, I think I must have been a treasure hunter in a previous life. Sometimes people send me things, and I'm tracking stuff down, and I'm like, I found that tile. It's $1,800 a square foot. It's custom made in New York. And
$1,800 a square foot?
Yes, literally, this is true experience. It's custom made in New York.
$1,800
$1,800 a square foot.
Is it gold plated?
It is. It was marble.
Oh, it's literally gold plated.
It was marble with wood trim. And so
did they buy it?
No.
Okay.
They said, "Oh my gosh, I saw it on Pinterest and it was stunning." And it was.
Yeah, I bet.
Now, let's see how we can create that effect for you.
Yeah.
So we went back and we came up with something different. And the customer was so very happy. And the thing is, like she knew exactly what she was looking at, all the different things. And so sometimes the part of the treasure hunter is going, "Oh crud, I can't afford to go down there and get that."
Yeah. I thought you misspoke at first.
No,
I was
it
like,
was literally $1,800 a square foot. There was another one where I've tracked a light down, and this is before.
I'm just trying to think in my mind, like, who
I know, right?
buys that? Like,
Who buys that? Apparently, the designers in New York buy it really well. And you had to pay for it up front before they even create it, before they even make it. And then there was another one that was a customer wanted a light so I track it down through Pinterest. This light was custom made for a designer in LA over this bathtub. And so, I was able to go through and go, okay, and this is before Google reverse search. Mm-hmm. So I was able to go through and go, okay, here's some options that are similar. Let's look at these. And so it's really fun finding things that, did she have the light that she wanted that was $8,000? No. Yeah. But did she have something comparable that when she walked in her bathroom, she was happy? Absolutely. And did we not have fun conversations going back and forth saying, oh, get this?
Well, what you're doing though is you're problem solving.
I am problem solving.
The problem is that the tile they want is $1,800 a square foot, and your job as the flooring expert is to help them solve that problem. Yeah. And I think we've said this on previous episodes, and it's a truism of business is that when you're in business, your main job is really to help other people solve their problems.
Yes.
And if you could do a good enough job of that and do it for enough people, you'll make money and you'll be successful, and you'll always have business. And it sounds like you guys are doing a great job of that. So
we're having a great time doing it.
Yeah. So going back to something we touched on a little bit earlier, you had talked about finding kind of your customer base and things like that. Who is your customer? How did you kind of determine who is your customer? Does the question make sense?
It does. And ironically, one of the very first things that I did when I left my previous job and started doing this, like this was my focus. Mm-hmm. And I tend to get hyper focused. Some people call it obsessive. I call it like planning but and so I took this class. The very first class I took was a business class on identifying your customer and identifying all the qualities your customer has. So it's not always where you think it is. You might start out with my customer is my builder, but is it really? I mean, my customer, is the builder, but really and truly, the builder has brought me a homeowner.
Right.
And so I literally had to go down. And the whole exercise was my builder is a lot of times a he, my customer is a lot of times she, and that's two different viewpoints. That's two different people. And the builder's goals is to have light in the room, but the customer's goals is to have jewelry accentuating their beautiful home, right? To have the accessories, to do all the things. So your builder might be going for function, but she's going for decoration. And I'm saying he and she, it's not always that way. It's just, I'm identifying. We're generalizing, and I'm identifying who my primary person is. Right. So I had to learn how to be mediator and how to say, okay, this is the actual customer, but this is the person who refers the customer to me every time. I need everybody to be happy.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do because, you're dealing with two people whose goals are sometimes not in alignment, and you're the person in the middle of all that. And you've got to find a way to delicately handle those differences in opinion.
Yeah, as well as price points.
Yeah. And that can be really hard to do.
And the funny thing is that I found is that a lot of times the person that's ultimately responsible for paying doesn't always want to tell you how much the goal is, how much the actual budget is. And that was a really surprising thing for me. So I had to really dig into my psychology.
Well, if you think about
education.
it from the customer's point of view, if you say, hey, my lighting budget's $5,000, it stands to reason that whatever person you're dealing with that's selling you this lighting is going to find a way to spend the $5,000.
Right. Here's the problem with that. Your budget is normally like 1% of your house. Mm-hmm. So that might be $1,500. And what you want is $5,000.
Yeah.
So if I don't know the budget and then it comes in at the end of the house, you owe $4,500 extra on the lighting. Oh, wait, $3,000 extra on the flooring. Hold on. $3,000 extra on the granite or quartz because you wanted quartz instead.
Yeah.
Oh, then there's this. And then the next thing you know, someone's saying, oh my God, I was nickel and dime to death at the end. But were you?
Yeah.
I mean, if we know a budget, then we stay in a budget. And we originally start out with, this is what a $1,500 budget looks like.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I try to start up front with educating the customer on what your budget looks like. And then the relationship goes so much better. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as we start with what that budget looks like, you realize I'm not trying to spend your entire budget. I'm trying to keep you in your budget, because if I go over your budget, then
you're going to be writing some checks at the end.
And this person over here who's building the house is not happy with me.
Yeah.
At all. Because it is a fine line to work. I want you to be happy as the homeowner, and I want that person to be happy as the builder, because we stayed in our budget, or we stayed as close to our budget as we possibly could.
Yeah.
Or if we went over, we paid for it now out of pocket before we got to the end, and it felt so stressful.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you're building a $200,000 house and your lighting budget is $2,000, like, that gets eat up pretty quick.
It gets eat up very fast. I mean, I just want you to go through.
I mean, you think about going to Lowe's,
Yeah.
and you think about, okay, I'm going to buy ceiling fans.
Yeah.
An inexpensive ceiling fan is like $150.
Right.
And so you buy a ceiling fan for 3 bedrooms and a living room, well, that's $600 right there.
There you go.
And you haven't even taken into account any, pendants for your dining room, or fixtures for your bathrooms, or recessed lighting for, your living room, kitchen, laundry room, what have you. So, it is important that, your customer has some trust in you as an expert, which leads me to another question is, how do you build the trust with your customers and clients to get them to open up to you and say, look, this is my budget?
So a lot of times it starts with, I genuinely love people. I genuinely love hearing your story. And so the funny thing is, sometimes when I first start out, I'm talking, probably too much. But then after a minute, after a bit, it's really funny. They start, like people will start talking back, I've had people come in that at first, I'm trying to fill them out. Hey, what's your favorite part of the house? What's your favorite room? And it's like, oh, I don't have one. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting ideas, or, because it's hard to just like tell someone, I don't know you. I don't want to, I don't know that it's a lack of want. Let me rephrase that. You can't even think what your favorite part of the house is at that point. You don't, you know what I mean? You just don't know. So after a minute, someone will give me a clue. Maybe they realize I have a Boston Terrier, because we have a shop dog that stays behind our desk and comes out whenever anybody expresses interest in him.
Yeah.
And, next thing you know, they've got 3 Boston Terriers and, or they've got 3 French bulldogs, or they've got, and maybe we bond over their animals, or as we're talking and they don't even know where to start, and we start talking about paint colors, and painting has nothing to do with my job, but everything to do with my job, because I can turn your gray yellow, or I can turn your gray purple, or, you know.
Well, I mean, the color temperature of the lighting
Correct.
is going to affect how that paint looks.
Yes. So
and
I pull out
the countertops and the flooring.
Yes. So I pull out my paint chart and we start going through things. And in the end, I know that you have a favorite mirror, that the bathroom is the favorite room in the house, that your dogs are in the house, so we need to talk about pet friendly, that it's really funny if you just listen to people. And so often...
And ask good questions.
And ask good questions. And the questions can't be... It cannot be like yes or no. It can't be, and I can't even think of a good one all of a sudden. But it's like...
It's got to be open-ended.
It's got to be open-ended. You know, as soon as you walk in and someone says, "Can I help you today?" No.
Yeah.
And good customer service is greeting someone and saying, "Can I help you?" Or, "What are we doing today?" But I might start out with, "Hey, are you doing new construction or a remodel? Mm-hmm. Are you just updating some lighting in your house?"
I've heard it said that, the best questions that you can ask of people are what questions and how questions.
Yes.
Hey, what can we be helping you with today?
Right.
That is much more likely to get you a response than, "Can I help you?"
Yes.
And I know in my line of work, I meet a lot of strangers, and we have to build trust quickly. And the way that I do that is kind of like what you're talking about. It's listening, it's asking good questions, and it's making the client goals my goal.
Yes.
And one of the ways that we do that is, we're very open and honest about how we do business. We're very open and honest about, when we're helping someone sell their home, I give them honest feedback about what they need to do to make their home more desirable to buyers. And I tell them up front, I'm like, "Listen, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to insult you, but I do need, as a professional, I do have to give you honest feedback about what I'm seeing in your house. Now, there's this, and this, okay? Your paint colors are very personal and they're not going to have mass appeal. You've got lots of wear and tear on your trim, and your dog scratched your back door all to crap. And you've got a lot of rotten wood on the eaves outside, and that's going to turn people off, okay?"
I can't tell you how many times realtors have those conversations, and the next thing you know, I'm finding lights that are great bargains, super wonderful pricing that I keep in stock.
Yeah.
But to help people with curb appeal.
Yeah.
Instantly, because it is amazing if you put a good pad under that carpet.
Oh my gosh.
Someone walking in instantly goes, "Oh, they spent a lot of money on this." Yeah. If you take down that big box store light and put up a $20 light that I got for 85% off, and now you have a $200 light up there that's not like everybody else's, but still stays mainstream, because you don't
mass
want
appeal.
Mass appeal, yeah. It's like instantly your realtor just told you to update your home, and I'm going to help you update your home for a very low price.
Yeah, and it's just being willing to have those honest conversations with people, and help them to understand the things they need to understand in order to be successful in whatever it is that they're trying to do, whether it's buying a home, selling a home, remodeling, building a new house, whatever it is. You've got to lay your cards on the table and say, "Look, if this is what you want, this is what you got to do. This is how we're going to help you get it." And I think that's a good recipe for building trust and keeping a long-term customer, and someone that's going to refer you to other people too.
Absolutely, because that's where the honesty comes in with, "Listen, I need your budget."
Yeah.
So I can keep you in budget.
Yeah. And hopefully by the time you get to the point of asking that question, you've already built some rapport.
Absolutely.
You've built a little bit of trust. You're like, "Look, I've got to ask you a personal question, but I need to know, what's your budget on this build, and what, where do we need to be as far as pricing is concerned? I'm going to try to help you stay at or below that budget, but you also need to know that if we go over the budget, you're going to be on the hook for it.
Correct.
You're either writing us a check today or you're going to write your builder a check at the end.
Correct.
We've been gabbing for almost 2 hours, so we'll kind of put a bow on this and wrap it up. So one question that I've started asking of everybody that comes on the show is, if you were talking to someone who's getting ready to start a new business, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Do your research. And when you're doing your research, look at people who have learned from other people's unsuccess as much as their success. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, the people who are successful aren't people who just, instantly got into it. They're people who fell many times and got back up. Mm-hmm. And a survivor is someone who gets back up. Mm-hmm. And keeps on going. And the people who make it in this business, I've noticed, have had trials and tribulations. And so I'm a great believer in history. Thomas Edison had, over 100 tries before he did the light bulb, right? So that doesn't mean that he had 99 failures. That means he had 99 tests to see what worked.
Yeah.
And I truly, truly believe, when you're going into any business, no matter what it is, do the research and see what didn't work, mm-hmm. and you will find what did. Because so many people have stories of what they tried first or what businesses they went into first. And here's why it didn't work. Maybe they didn't have all their paperwork together. Maybe they didn't know their market research. Maybe they weren't able to predict things like election year is always going to, prove to be conservative. There's trends all the way
By
through history.
You mean it's going to be not as busy because people are sitting on the sidelines waiting to see the outcome of the election?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't matter. It's every 4 years, there's just certain things that happen. And having that psychology background, going to school, mm-hmm. to do that, there were things that I saw no matter what field I was in. And that's what it was. Staycations are popular during election years. People not going, doing the big purchases. People, wanting to feel cozier, wanting to feel more secure. The color blue tends to be more popular. You'll see it all the way across the board. There's so many things that happen in an election year.
I feel like psychology is an underrated field of study for business owners.
Very underrated. And I will tell you, Academy, when I interviewed with them, 100% that was something that the person interviewing me focused on. Mm-hmm. He focused on my background in training. He focused on my background of helping people reach their own goals, mm-hmm. not my goals. That if someone is looking to achieve their own goals, they're going to do it much faster, much more realistically, and much more sustainably than they'll reach yours. Mm-hmm. And so there's anthropology is another one that a lot of businesses look for, to be successful. So definitely psychology is a huge bonus in a retail industry. Yeah. But that's my main thing is research, not only for the future, not only where you're going into, but also see the test runs that were done and why they didn't work, mm-hmm. to know how to formulate a plan on what does work.
And maybe meet with the guys at the Small Business Administration.
Oh my gosh, yes. How did I leave that out? Because they are amazing. Yeah. And the neat thing, not only did they help me, but then they asked me to come back and speak.
Cool.
And I really, really enjoyed that. And now Chuck Vanderbilt, he now works for the rural development, helping you get the loans. Yeah. So he went from UT Tyler into the development of a rural community. He helps other people, helps them achieve those goals. So when they work very closely together, UT Tyler program, and it's right there in Longview on 4th Street is where some of their classes are. I mean, there are some amazing people in that program that will help you put everything together so that when you do go to the banks, to wherever you're getting your funding from, and they will help you develop all of that. They will help you find that research. So if you don't know it, they will help you find it. And sometimes it's a 1-minute plan. Sometimes it's a long-term plan.
Right.
But they'll help you with the classes on accounting. They'll help you even after you get your business going. They'll help you find ways to keep going. I mean, there's even classes that are like engineering classes where the students need projects, and they'll go help small businesses like mine reorganize your back warehouse and build it.
Wow.
And you have to apply for it. But I'm just saying, there's so many neat programs out there that can help small businesses know your resources.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. So tell people where they can find you guys if they want to check out Simply Floors and Lights. We
are located at the corner of 154 and 271 in Gilmer, Texas.
Okay.
We have a 1948 Duesenberg dealership that we have turned into this wonderful building. It is large, red tin building. And
it's very hard to miss.
It is very hard to miss.
I didn't realize it was a Duesenberg dealership.
That's neat. Isn't that cool? Someone sent me pictures of it from 1948.
Wow.
And so I have pictures of it from the 40s and pictures of it from the 50s and 60s and then now.
Cool.
It is amazing.
What about where do people find you online?
We are at simplyfloorsandlights.com, and we also have Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Cool. So people can go check out Simply Floors and Lights, give you a call for their next new home build, remodel, or even just putting in some new flooring or trying to spice up the light fixtures a little bit.
Absolutely. And the great thing is the lighting is available online sales. The flooring has great visualizers. So maybe you're in another part of the country moving to our wonderful location. You're able to go online and use the visualizers to redo your floors, use the visualizers to put new lights on your house, as well as reach out to us and we can help you find all the things that you need.
Cool.
And maybe we're just a little entertainment on TikTok.
There you go. Well, thanks for coming, Angela. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey guys, it's Ronnie. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Small Business Stories. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe to the show. Also, we would love to hear your feedback on what we're doing. So if you would please leave a comment, that would be awesome. Also, if you or someone you know would like to be on the show, please reach out to me on Facebook at facebook.com/GodfreyRN. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on Small Business Stories.